looks really good. It's like perfect weather down here. I
Which
was like,
means,
it's like 82,
wow.
nice low humidity. I was like, oh man, maybe we're turning the corner. We're going into the fall. And then I looked at the weather for the next 7 days. Let's see if we can get that.
Oh my God.
104
102, 100.
degrees, 102,
Oh
100.
my God. That's
The
horrible.
hottest temperatures of the year. And I woke up and it
I
was
think
like in the
you need to
60s.
learn to keep your mouth shut,
Mm,
right? On weather.
hmm.
Somebody heard you and decided to say,
Mess with
hell,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Might as well go to Vegas.
Yeah, that shows you how sad that is.
Okay, so Tina, can you start, please?
Okay. All right, mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is an abbreviated edition of the limited, small, light version of whatever the hell this is.
oh my goodness.
Joining us is the last time that we were on. We had a conversation with Brent Leary of the Gillmor Gang, and he's consented to join us again. So welcome, Brent.
So I'm not from the state of confusion anymore.
Well, you
Uh,
must be.
Oh, you missed it, Steve.
no, we're not doing that. We're doing
Okay.
No,
Oh,
uh,
that's the other show. Okay, yes.
no, it's the other election that
Uh,
I don't care about. I've been watching West Wing, and I'm very happy staying in the imaginary world of Aaron Sorkin. Um,
Congratulations.
thank you.
but
We're doing well. I don't think there is a Georgia in the West Wing.
In the Utopia.
Yeah,
there's a Martin Sheen.
that's right. Um, so the welcome, Brent. How's your is the convention over yet?
Is Biden done his speech yet? I'm still waiting
Yeah,
for that
that was
to
amazing. When he did that backflip, I just couldn't believe.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I
Was that
think
on? That
he
must have been on the West Wing too. I
Yeah.
don't think I saw that.
okay. Uh, all right. Well, we'll get back to you. And joining us as always is our producer director and
Oh
uh,
no.
yeah, that person right there is Tina Chase Gilmore. Welcome.
Just hang on.
Yeah.
Ha! You got her all choked up over that beautiful
Yeah,
intro.
look at that. She's crying. She's
Wait a
crying.
second. You know what? I did some silly pinning and then I couldn't get out of it. But here I am. So hi, how you doing? Great to see you guys here today, Brent and Paul, who we haven't even introduced yet.
That's all right. I got time. I'm waiting.
Okay. So without further ado, this sort of shortened or streamlined version of the gang is we're on summer hours, given the some of the people in the gang are traveling or on vacation or whatever. And so we've decided to go to this new old format, which is where we talk to people who have been on the gang or
Enterprise. I was on the Enterprise gang.
Friends of the
that's right,
gang.
the
That's
Enterprise
right.
gang. Both, I'm not sure whether
We have
Brent
a lot of gangs,
Yeah,
don't we?
Brent was on. It
any.
was
I
me,
think that
Brent.
was my entree into the Gilmore multiplex or whatever you call
Gilmore
this.
conglomerate.
Multisphere, right?
The Gilmore conglomerate.
So anyway, the
Mhm.
guy that we're talking to is Paul Greenberg, and I'm going to uh, he and Brent have this computer television network that they've spun up over the
Ah,
past
That's
yes.
the 1998 way
Computer,
of
I know.
putting it.
Computer
1998 way of putting
television.
it. Right. Yeah, we have a computer television network. And with sound. We have sound talkies.
It's
on
in
it.
color too, by the way.
You have talkies. We're very advanced.
Well, there, thanks for sort of taking my opinion out of it.
It's our network. It's our computer network.
No, this is actually the Gilmore game.
Uh, no, this is the
Wait a minute.
light
We're
version.
talking about
Hey,
politics.
Paul, he's been on our show when he took over, right? So
That's right. Oh,
turnabout is
yeah.
actually just fair play.
Well, you can, good luck.
Ooh, this is
Well,
gonna be a-
Paul and Brent have a bunch of shows that they streams, and some of them, you do some of your shows together. Then Brent's got some that he's doing with some other people, and Paul's got some that he's doing with some other people. A lot of shows. It keeps you really busy, and the network is called
Oh, Players Productions Network, PPN.
PPN.
This is PPN.
Yeah.
Players.
We might have to update
Right.
it to PPC in now. Put it
All
to-
right. Well, welcome, guys. It's really nice to have you here on a Saturday.
Well, Happy
Steve-
to be here.
So that's Paul Greenberg.
Thank you. Great. Well, we reversed it. I was happy to be here before my name was said.
Yes, that's true. So
Are you still happy to be here after your
is
name
the
was said?
convention over yet? Have you been watching the convention?
I haven't missed it. I missed some of it. I watched every night. I actually did.
I
And
watch every night.
I think I did too, actually.
yeah, well, you and I were texting almost the entire
No, that's true too.
all
Yes.
4 days. Right, so I know you were. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because it was very kind of when 1968, when they had the convention in Chicago, that was the convention that radicalized me, and it was one of the biggest, disastrous, horrible things ever, with Mayor Daley ranting about Jews and and attacking Senator Ribicoff, and I ended up in SDS on the campus as a result of that convention.
Now, SDS, those who are playing along at home.
Oh yeah, Students
was
for a
that?
Democratic Society. We were the Maoists on the campus.
All right,
My
for those who
fault.
are playing along at home, Mao is mouse. You got to
Mao
say who that is.
Man, yeah, but let's say we made a mistake. But fast forward, what, 50?
What do you mean
50,
you made a
60?
mistake?
Well, Mao's philosophy wasn't very good, as it turned out.
Did you have the little red book?
Yeah, I still have it, in fact.
Wow.
I literally still have my little red book. I think I'm the only human on the planet, though, who actually read the 4-volume collected works of Mao.
Wow.
So Arcane Music for 40. Who was the artist that did Little Red Book?
Oh, God.
I don't know that guy, but I know who did Little Red Corvette.
Yeah.
Little red book.
Well, that's your answer to everything.
You know.
Now, and yet we've already talked about this. I took a break from my break and watched John Legend, and you didn't
Ugh.
Oh, no.
see there.
You know, I thought we were going to have a positive, optimistic show today.
I mean, look,
I thought it was a good segment.
Okay, so Paul, you were at the
no, I didn't. I wasn't at it. As soon as it ended, I went back to school at Northwestern and joined SDS. That's what happened.
okay.
I was completely radicalized by watching it. You fast forward to now, and it was probably the most, let's say, the most energetic, positive convention of any kind I've ever seen, really. And it was, look, I mean, the decisions had already been made. Kamala Harris was going to be the nominee. That was not like that was going to, not only was it not in doubt, it was like everybody knew it for a week. So basically we were watching a TV event is what we were watching. But what the Democrats did, I thought, incredibly smartly, aside from all their lovely attacks on Trump, which were really sharp and good and funny for that matter. They also highlighted, okay, here's the Democratic Party we want you to expect when Kamala Harris gets in. And they highlighted it at almost every segment, right? In almost every segment. They probably had one or two mistakes they made. But generally it was kind of brilliantly staged, really. I look, every one of these things has their strengths and weaknesses, but these guys didn't miss a trick. And
But
they, they
they're tied.
what?
At best, they're tied with Trump.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the election, yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm not, yeah. I
Well,
mean, convention boosts don't
statistical
mean a damn
side, but
thing.
national polls are showing that Kamala Harris is a little bit ahead.
sugar high.
No, polls, Steve,
No,
not sugar
oh,
high.
polls.
Yeah,
Ooh,
well, okay, as much as you can trust polls, and we can certainly debate about
don't trust
that.
them.
And I'm not
Well,
talking about Polish people either. I'm
I
talking.
know. I was about to say. I was about to say.
I was holding back on a joke.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
too.
but address my point, which is that with all that, with all of what I agree, if I had watched the convention, I would agree that it was well done, and uh, it was some of it was terrific.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
but
But
you're not going to
let
know
me
the
ask,
actual
yeah,
impact of
go
this
ahead.
for a couple of weeks.
yeah,
Ask the question.
thanks.
Yeah.
Um, we're still tied at best.
Well, it's not. No. We're still tied.
Good question.
Period. Within
Actually,
the. It's not at best. It's what
yeah.
we are.
There are some people that think that Trump underpolls and that he's
No,
winning.
it's not his polls anyone cares about.
It's
Right.
the trend of all the polls. It's not
Right.
just
Every
one.
single poll out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to know the impact of this particular convention for another week or two, at least on the polls.
Well, that's why I'm on West Wing. I'm not worried.
No.
Every time we have an election year or a pandemic,
Hmm.
Steve goes back to the
One or
West
the other.
Wing because it's his happy place.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Wow.
it sort of
Good
rides
show.
out that feeling. But let me say, I think that this convention and this uh, Democratic campaign has produced, at least for me, maybe not for Steve, those feelings, those good feelings of this is why we're in it. This is why it matters so much. This is just the patriotism I mean, I think the Democrats did a bang up job of the whole convention was a well-produced show. I mean, it was top notch.
Yep.
You can argue whether there's a speech here or a speech there that didn't need to be or whatever, but I'm sure that every single speech was meant for, to attract
Yep.
a particular group. You have a sheriff from Michigan. I don't even know that place in Michigan.
Hmm.
And they're targeted to resonate with a certain group, right?
Absolutely.
So everything was meaningful.
Look, having
Right.
AOC and Jasmine Crockett on early was really smart because look, the way Kamala Harris is going to win this one of the things that has to happen is by far the largest vote ever from the millennials, and Gen Z stop not being apathetic about it and getting out there. And they appealed to every one of them and drove it exactly in the way they had to drive it in terms of getting them excited. To Steve's point, though, you know, like every other election, there's always a bump. It could be a very small bump. It doesn't really matter. What still matters is you got the people on the ground getting out and doing the work, and they did emphasize that point over and over. Michelle Obama made a really big point of it. In fact, her speech was off the charts,
Yeah.
and
Amazing.
that was to me that was my. It was the single best. Actually, outdid her husband, which is hard to do as an orator. Um,
I
But
thought,
they had different roles.
yeah,
I said this, I forget where I said, you got to take kind of their two speeches together because she did one aspect of like she was, kind of the really deep emotional feel good which felt great. And you could see by the looks of everybody. And I mean, the panning of the shots when she was speaking, and particularly the women. I mean, they were just captivated and hanging on every word she said. And hers was much more of the emotional,
Right.
get the guttural kind of thing. He prosecuted a case more so than what
Yeah.
she did. So you take them together, and you come with this unstoppable combination, because there's nobody on the other side that has one, if and let alone two, and then them working together. I don't know how much they kind of worked on their individual speeches to make sure that they kind of fit as a whole, but they fit as a whole, and it was not just them, but they kind of, those were the two biggies. But maybe we could take a step back. They only had what, 3 weeks to plan this at the most?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean,
Right.
the convention was going to be Joe Biden's convention, right? So it was already underway, but they really did have to, retool
I'll
it.
tell you right now, I am almost 100% positive that roll call was not going to be part of the Joe Biden experience.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of things that
Wasn't
were
that
you could.
fun?
It was
Wasn't that
fun, but I'm
fun?
just saying they to pull off what they did in the short time frame that they had is kind of unbelievable, and everything pretty for the most part fit, like Steve said. There's some things, speeches that didn't really do anything for me, at least, but as a whole and every night, Clinton was great. Both
Yep.
Clintons were great. Everybody, who
Hillary
did a really good job is,
gave a great speech.
yeah,
I
the
mean,
guy
maybe
from
one
North
of the best I've
Carolina.
ever
Roy
heard her
Cooper.
do.
We
Roy
wouldn't be in
Cooper
this
did a great job
situation.
Yes, he
leading into
did.
that.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did. And he did exactly what he needed to do. Well,
Who-
that's the thing.
Who did?
One after another, everyone did almost, no, pretty much everyone, regardless of whether they were great orators or not, did exactly what they were there to do. Exactly. That was the thing that blew me away is you could literally, if you paid attention to who they were, you knew what constituency they were aiming at. And you just knew it was obvious. And the other thing, which was, keep in mind too, is which made that convention even more difficult to do in 3 weeks, although necessary to do that way, was how fast Kamala Harris got out of the gate once Biden said, "I endorse you." Right? Because once that happened, you knew she was the nominee. That was it. I mean, regardless of people complaining about Biden and his state of mind, uh, he still holds a lot of power. And that power was, I endorse you, right? And when that happened, it was over. And it was over. And so she, within, I'm slightly exaggerating, but not much, within 10 minutes was on social media everywhere, right? I mean, it was
I don't think you
obviously
exaggerate by much.
yeah, no, that's the thing. And she never ever slowed down. And not for a second, still hasn't. And look, honestly, I didn't like her when she was picked as vice president because I really couldn't stand the way she had blindsided Biden in the debates. I hated it. I absolutely hated that. And I was amazed he took her. And as a vice president, I thought,
I thought that was the single most important thing that happened in the debate
yeah, but I hated it,
because
regardless.
I understand your point. I'm just saying that I thought it was the beginning of the reel of Bill Barr, etc., getting taken to the cleaner's fire.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
that's the thing.
She can't handle herself.
No, I didn't. That wasn't. No, no.
No,
I agree with you, but look. I knew. It's not. I did. How do I put this? I've known all about her for years. Okay. When she was a prosecutor, I knew about it, right? I mean, she can. I always knew she could handle herself. That was not a big issue to me at all. She's genuinely as big a smile as she has right now. She's as tough as that smile is big, and she's really tough. And she will take Trump apart if there's a debate. She'll take him apart.
Yeah, you said it right. Because
Yeah.
he's gonna find a way to weasel out, because he knows he's gonna look terrible if he goes up against her.
Yeah, it's not even close. Um, You know, and
Oh,
she,
it's well, let's think about this though. So we have seen her in the primary season, as you said, Paul. We have seen her like attack like a freaking bulldog, right? And I also agree with you. It was tough, and a lot of people got turned off by her. Just talking with friends, I had people say, "Oh, I did not like how she did that to him," right?
well, it wasn't,
But
wait, just back up for 1 second though. You said it was tough. It wasn't that it was tough that bothered me. What bothered me is it was bullshit, right? That's what it was. He basically was trying to make him into a racist, which he is definitely not, right? So that's the part I resent. I don't resent somebody hounding someone.
okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
was that part.
Did she try to make him a racist, or did she point out something that other people kind of
No,
assume that's what she was alluding to?
no,
Because I think she just said she was one of those kids that was,
no, that
kind
part
of
she
put.
said, but she also accused him. That was, and that even
Okay,
that,
I didn't get
yeah,
that part of it.
I remember it well because I was,
Look,
oh,
I'm a kid from Delaware,
yeah,
and I was part of the first generation of the busing,
yeah.
and speaking as one of those kids, there was some we went through some stuff when that happened, and I think a lot of it was unintended consequences, but I know what she was talking to. I could relate with exactly what she was saying because it happened to
Maybe,
me.
yeah, listen,
I have a feeling that she had that statement ready, and it didn't even matter who she was going to deliver it to. It was going to come out at some point, and probably that was the opportunity. So she went. I don't know. I'm not an
look,
apologist.
honestly,
My point is that we've seen her bring out her toughness. We've seen her in what was it, a congressional hearing
Oh
where
yeah. Well, she took apart what's his name during the Supreme Court.
uh,
What's the guy with the I like beer? Kavanaugh.
right,
Kavanaugh,
She made
right.
him look like a monkey.
Oh
he
yeah.
did.
So now Trump
Finally found his
Trump
true
knows
self.
all this, right? So maybe Trump, what I would think what he might do is come bring his sweet self, his, really calm and, I'm gonna be a really nice guy and try to bait her into it.
That'll last like 2
Yeah,
seconds.
exactly.
To like make her look like, ooh, she's so bad. Well, he likes to
She,
call it nasty.
I'm betting on her. I'm sorry.
Easy. I
And
don't think he can possibly get. I don't think
But that's what I'm just thinking is that if he does do the debate, that he might.
He can't help himself though. That's the problem.
I
He
No,
don't
it's
has
think
not the problem.
Eventually
It's our
he'll,
only chance.
he'll crack, but
well, I
that's
mean,
his problem. I should have said it like
look,
that, I
I
Yeah.
mean, the net effect of all of this is right now I'm a big supporter of her because when she stepped up, she stepped up. And she really, I have no question about in my mind about her being qualified to be
Okay,
the president of the country.
so I don't mean to interrupt, but I actually do
Yes, you do.
interrupt. Yes.
go ahead.
Which is I want to hear Paul, the other side of this.
Which is what?
We wake up on November 6th and
Then Trump's reelected?
absolutely. Well, he wouldn't be reelected. He would be
Elected
It
again.
would.
elected again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's reelected.
No, it's
It's a
the
delay.
difference.
It's not saying he's the
Like Grover
incumbent.
That would be
Cleveland
the big
was
lie.
elected a
I mean,
second time.
Yeah, what did they say about Grover Cleveland? Anybody
He was
remember?
elected again.
He was elected. Yeah.
That's just there's a space between the
Well,
terms.
what is it that you're asking, Steve? What happens if Trump is elected again? Is that the
I
question?
wasn't asking about the elected again language snafu. I was asking what Paul thinks about the downside of this sugar high that we're on.
You mean what would happen if what would I think if he gets elected again? Is that what you're saying? Or what do I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah,
have to
that's
do
good.
now? Which one?
Well, I don't know the difference.
Well, we have to do now is different than what happens if he's
Okay,
elected.
so let's go with what do we have to do now?
Well, right now it's blocking and tackling time. But hey, look, the Democrats set the tone. They did. And now that the tone, again, it's like, my constant mantra on user conferences, which is nobody cares literally in within a year, no one's going to remember anything you said, but they will remember how they felt, right? And that's the benefit of a conference, actually. It's not detrimental. And in this case, they'll probably remember some of the things said, but the reality is that everyone's going to remember how they felt when they think about it. Okay. Plus, the Democratic Party set its clear distinction from the Republican Party because don't forget, part of the convention was to set up the other elections that are going on for the House and the Senate too. It wasn't just her. Now blocking and look, Saul Alinsky has never been wrong about any of this stuff back in his day.
Paul Alinsky,
He was an organizer in the 50s who created the Foundation for Community Organizing. In fact, Obama was sort of an Alinskyite in his own mind, his own words, organizer.
before he was in the Senate, he was a
Yeah.
community organizer. Yes.
Yeah, and he was literally following the principles of Saul Alinsky, which everybody does. Actually, that's just been the foundation for all community organizing pretty much since he put him down, put him out. And so it's blocking and tackling time now. I look, yeah, be euphoric, be happy, but you got to get out there and do stuff, and you got to drive. The good news, and this is where the convention has a big impact, is it creates an inclination for people to take action where they didn't have it before it. But somebody still has to kick them so that they'll say, ow, and go do it. It's just because they have an inclination doesn't mean they will, right? And so you have to, but because that inclination exists, it means that it's going to be, as long as you're doing the work, they'll do it. And
Okay, so I
always-
totally agree with what you're saying. Let's take swing states as an example, and we'll just drill down on a couple of them. Georgia.
You asking anybody or me? Or
No,
what?
well,
Is
we have the
Georgia really a
We have
senator.
a George in here.
Georgia, I mean, is it
I'm asking the
called a
gentleman
swing
from
state?
Georgia whether or not Georgia's a swing
The
state.
gentleman from Georgia
Georgia is
has the
definitely a
floor.
swing state. It's a swing
Okay.
state, yeah.
All right, so you answered that. What do you think the chances are of them duplicating the situation in 2020, which had several extenuating circumstances, including a special election and then the dynamics that were set up by that, to be able to basically run a straight flush in order to tip the Senate over.
Oh, tip this.
That's going to
Yeah,
happen this year?
I think it's a good shot that it could. Look, there's a lot of motivated people down here, a lot of motivated people, and I don't think that motivation or that fire or that excitement or that passion is going anywhere but up. So I do believe there's a chance, and let's face it, Atlanta has a very big population of educated black women, and they are all in on her. And so yeah, I think she has a good shot, just as good a shot as Biden had in 2020.
And I think to your point too, even though Brian Kemp came out and endorsed Trump like a moron, his lieutenant governor was there for Republicans for Harris,
Duncan,
right?
Jeff
So
Duncan, yeah.
yeah, that do not underestimate the fact that a significant Republican in the state of Georgia, a significant white Republican in the state of Georgia, came out in support of Kamala Harris, and he's literally second in command, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
And the last time Trump was here, he like berated the governor.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I don't understand why, and his wife, for crying out
I
loud.
know.
I mean, all that stuff is not going away, and I think it'll all show up on election day. And as I forget when mail-in voting starts here, but I suspect it's going to be a huge mail-in vote coming in from here, even bigger than 2020.
Well, I think the most visible sign in 2020 was the long lines to vote in person. That I thought went way beyond the expectations of people who were, thinking that this was somehow going to be a firewall for the Democrats. It turned
Yeah.
out that it was. All right, another question for Paul.
So,
No, another question for Paul. We don't have a lot of time here, so save it up.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I could do it the cheap way, which is to say, do you think that there's any chance in hell that the Democrats can take Texas? But I won't. I'll ask about either North Carolina or uh, what was it? Nevada. Will either of them tip to the Democrats?
That's honestly, it's not 40-60 Republican here, meaning 60-40 Republican. It's probably closer to actual 50-50 I'd say if I was picking one, and this might sound peculiar, I'd probably pick North Carolina as a possible tipping point because look, a part of the thing with North Carolina is very polarized state.
Yep.
And yet to that polarization, there's a lot on both sides here, right? Meaning, and it's just a matter of which side's going to get out more to vote. Now, the interesting thing to me, look, again, you had Roy Cooper there, which tells you, and he's a well-liked governor, and you can't underestimate that either, right? He's a well-liked guy, and he's well-liked because he's done a lot for the state. And again, he's a Democrat, right? So meaning there is a Democratic base that's significant enough to elect a governor there. And that means the opportunity for them to take the state is there. That said, the interesting thing to me, and I don't know the numbers here, would be how many millennials and Gen Zers live there. I don't know, because ultimately, I still see them as key to everything going on. Not necessarily the only thing that's going to change it, but their turning out in force is going to tip the election pretty much, would almost guarantee the election of
Well, you know what?
Kamala
I will
Harris.
say, actually, there's a case to be made that North Carolina has a little bit more of an opportunity to turn blue against Trump and for Kamala Harris than even Georgia, because there's a double hater thing going on in North Carolina. Those folks who were the Republicans that were not MAGA, they're not going to be all that enthused to go out and vote. So, and then you have their governor, the GOP guy for the governor. That dude is straight out crazy. He's more radical and crazy than even Trump is. So you got a double hate position. So if you ain't not a maggot, so to speak, and you are also not for that guy who's a nut, you have zero reason to go and vote. And if that's the case, if you can't hold your nose and vote for either one of those two, that means that your vote there is no vote, and that's even a little bit more upside for North Carolina for Kamala Harris.
Well, I think that's the least likely scenario is, not voting for somebody, but voting against nobody.
No, or just not going to vote because you can't vote for your Democrats, but you cannot vote for Trump because if you're not a maggot kind of person, and you definitely can't vote for that. That guy is crazy. I don't know if you've heard him talk before.
He's scary. He's scary crazy.
So if you're used to being a Republican voter and you can't bring yourself to vote for them, and you know you can't vote for a Democrat, you just sit home, which is a net win for Kamala Harris if that happens.
Tina, do you remember what you were going to say?
No.
For the win.
Well, look, I was even okay. North Carolina, their voting history in the near past is very similar to South Carolina.
Well, Obama won in 2008.
Right.
Obama.
Then he lost in 2012.
Right.
North Carolina.
Okay.
It was a big deal that he won them.
So in 08, uh, North Carolina and South Carolina voted for Obama.
No, South Carolina did? Wow. I don't remember
In
that.
in 76, both states voted for Carter. So, no one talks about South Carolina's and no, and I don't think it is, but you know, Kamala Harris to me is almost as big of a change agent as Obama was. Got a black Asian woman. People have been wanting to vote for women for a long time. This is a big deal.
Hey, they had one
And
though. They
she's
had one
super
before.
capable. She's super capable. She's the vice president, for God's sake. She's ready. So
Well,
why,
how do you
why is
explain
it so
how do you explain
outrageous
Hillary not
that
winning?
South Carolina might go
But wait a
Hillary
minute, we've had
win
a
because
woman, yeah, we've had a woman get
run?
to this point and they turned against her.
Yeah, but that was
She was a
different.
Clinton.
First of
what
all, there
what
was that was they didn't, let's say this, it was a combination of turning against Hillary and turning for Trump as a change agent. Don't underestimate that in 2016. The one stat stood out to me big time when I saw it after Trump was elected, which was 12% of Bernie Sanders supporters voted for Trump, right?
Was
And
that because they wanted to vote for Trump, or there was a lot
no,
of Hillary
they're
hate?
voting for, they're just voting for change. They
They
didn't
wanted
care.
I
something
They
think
just
there's a
wanted
lot of
change.
hate vote for Hillary too that was out
It's
there.
classic populist voting, right? That's classic. They are attracted to motion, basically. And
Hmm.
what's the content of that? Oh, look at it. Look at fascism, man. You want to look at the study of fascism, you'll see and the art around it with futurism and so on, everything from the actual activity of the political party to the brushstrokes of artists was all built around motion, right? And
Wow.
activity. Oh yeah, I spent a
so is
lot
that
of
going to
time.
happen this time?
No,
No,
Why not?
no.
Why
nope,
not?
not at all.
I say it won't happen this time because uh like I said, there was a big hate factor for Hillary. It wasn't just a we want something new. There are people that out and out detest her for
Yeah, but
whatever reason.
the problem with, from my perspective, the problem with that argument is that why did Hillary keep the mail server?
I don't know, but that just fed the people
She
who hate
fed
her. That
it,
fed the
it
people to
fed
get
into the idea of, just to be blunt about it, arrogance. And the deplorables comment did too.
and that's another
And that
reason
was
why they
enough
hated
to
her.
turn that was enough to turn a percentage of the electorate against her and therefore change the election.
Look, she
Also, to
won.
honest,
Complicated.
she wasn't a great candidate either.
She didn't
Um,
make people feel enough people. Let's put it like this.
But she was good in her speech this time.
look,
Well,
She
yeah,
that's
was
she was
like eight
great.
years
she,
ago.
but
8 years later, she's
if you think that everybody else is wrong and that you're right, that it only took 8 years, not bad.
I think she's not running. And so she's not talking about herself. I think she did a great job because she was talking about Kamala. And it seems like there's some genuine feeling that she really thinks she's the right person. And so I think there's that. I just think that Hillary had some issues. People did not like her from the start. And then when this mail server thing, that gave even more ammunition to hate. Kamala doesn't have that. I don't think you've had as energized a convention since 2008, and I would say maybe this might even be a little bit more passion coming out of
Yeah,
this one than even 2008.
yeah. And the other
I have
thing
to
with
retract my South Carolina 2008 quote because I just looked it up again. I got too excited.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but I
Yeah.
knew.
All right.
So,
all right. So,
Um,
but here's the other thing with
but still,
the other thing with Hillary is she wasn't during let's say this. There's a good reason why in this conference you heard joy and hope and faith and neighbor and you know, family, and I mean, nonstop. It was right brain. The whole conference was right brain, right? It was like 100% EQ, right? So where Hillary does not didn't, she was that way. And if she was running the way she gave the speech this time, she might have won, right? But
Yeah.
she was distant. She was, if you're looking at her as a politician or a political figure, she was great. I mean, she was a great Secretary of State.
Extremely well
Yeah,
qualified.
right.
I mean,
She had the qualifications. She knew policy. You know, she like her husband too. The two of them were policy wonks, even when she was first lady. I mean, she's fantastic at that level. But nobody. It's not that people hate it. Some people did hate her, of
some people
course.
did hate
But
her.
the ones who didn't hate her didn't like her that much either, right? So to speak. And unfortunately, or fortunately, really, I guess, likability means a lot to this stuff,
Well,
right? And that's
can any of us remember the feeling after that 2016? I don't remember a thing about it. I don't remember anything about what happened at that convention,
no.
except for I think she wore
You're just
white.
not old enough. I remember. I remember Nixon's landslide victory. That didn't feel good.
That was
Was
68.
no, I mean coming out of the convention. I don't remember
No,
what
72 was the landslide.
was
Oh,
there
so
a big
68 was
buzz
the first,
for
yeah.
Hillary after that came out? I don't remember. But this, yeah, I think we're
Well,
gonna remember if she wins. I think we'll all remember what
well,
happened here.
well, I think whether I don't recall the convention all that well either, but I know that we all thought Hillary was going to win.
Oh yeah, that was
We
good.
were
Good.
all pretty freaking shocked.
Yeah, but that was because we
Election
didn't think
night.
anybody in their right mind would elect Trump as the president.
Right.
And you
Again.
look at her intelligence and you look at her experience, and she didn't fall on her face and during the convention. Who could have thought he was going to win?
That was it. I mean, Trump was literally just like shocked.
He was
everything.
surprised he won.
Yeah.
So what would it take this time for us to be surprised like that?
Nothing.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't
be surprised either
Oh,
way.
you're saying this isn't going to happen? That
No,
Trump is not going to win?
no, not
No, I'm
so.
saying
I
I
don't
don't think
think
I would be surprised either way at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
we
either
saw
would
what
I.
happened before. We know anything can happen.
I'm
So-
with you. I'm with you 100% on that. It's happened once. It can happen again, and that makes it all the more imperative for people to get the work done.
I think they even learned the lessons during the convention because every one of those keynote speakers said it's great to feel good and all that, but we got a lot of work to do. And even was it Michelle's like, look, they're humans. Tim and Kamala are humans. They're gonna make mistakes. You got to realize that don't let the mistakes get in your way of doing what needs to be done because they know they're looking at 2016 too. They remember what happened. I'm sure they felt pretty good coming out of that convention, and look what happened.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, we had 4 years of Trump in office to teach us that this guy gets out of everything. His mistakes get covered up by mostly lies. And we're just highly tuned to like Trump getting out of everything, right? So it would not surprise me or shock me that he would win, but I don't think he's going to.
Okay, so just let me know because I'll be in episode 10 of
season
7th season of
We'll
West
let
Wing.
you know. We'll let you know.
All right, Paul,
I'm
we got to wind
predicting-
this up. I know
I'm
that you have
predicting-
you have some things that you have to get to and take care of your wife.
Yes.
So anything to wrap up this? This is how we roll here on the Gillmor Gang. We get to talk about politics, and we don't care that it's not about tech.
see, that's a
So,
shot there, Paul. Just in case
it
you,
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
No,
it's a shot. We knew it's a shot.
Yeah,
It's how we-
Steve,
Just admit
this
it.
is
It's a
how
shot.
it works. We're
Just
all
like
getting our cake and eating it
you're
too.
just like
Wrestle with
Trump.
it a lot. We just don't anymore.
You're just like Trump. What's the matter with you? Just doing that to your guests. So the final thing's very simple, right? There's the work's there. Everyone's going to do it. Do I think Trump's going to win? No, but I will tell you this: I know from many public sources and even a couple of my old political contacts that there's plans being made just in case he does win
Wow.
for big traffic jams. Let's just say.
You guys got your tickets to Newfoundland?
Well, see, I'm fine. I'm married to a dual citizen, right? So and Newfoundland's a beautiful place. And guess what? They have good Wi-Fi finally. So I am set.
As long as there's a Costco, I don't really care.
Well, it's not a Costco up there, but the equivalent is there.
Paul, may I ask you something? When you say we're ready and we're ready to work or whatever. So what in your repertoire do you pull out of your bag of tricks for this particular election? What do you personally do? What do you get engaged in, and what would you encourage other people? Maybe they've got different personalities or something. What would you encourage other people to do? Because just being on social media, just
No.
like talking about it amongst ourselves doesn't really do anything. I mean, it maybe it helps a little bit, but any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's not complicated. I mean, look, my scope when I was in politics was national, but it's not anymore. Obviously, I'm out of politics for 30 plus years. But for me, it's going to be local. I'm just going to, aside from the obvious, which is giving the money and things like that, I'll probably knock on doors. Just as simple as that. And there's other levels like Josh Greenbaum, who we all know is an analyst, had been worked. I don't know if he's still working with it, but he was working with an organization actually run by Michael Steele. And Josh was kind of CTO of the organization. And it was a nonpartisan get out the vote group to get out the vote. I mean, that's what they did. And they also did, I believe they did some monitoring of the vote too. But there's a million ways to do it. It's just a matter of taking, and the downside to most people and why they don't do it is they say, well, I can only do this little, and that's not going to make much of a difference. And the old saw that the accumulation of all those little things makes a big difference. It's not an old saw. It became an old saw because it actually is the case. So
you work your neighborhood while your friend works their neighborhood while someone
that's it, and you make sure that the people who are inclined to vote but maybe didn't in the last election, make sure to take personal responsibility to make sure they vote. That's all. One thing that somebody did that a very simple thing, they drove the elderly who are in the homes to the polling places. Now they can vote absentee, but things like that where you just aid people in getting out to vote. Every single one of those things matter. If you got kids, because they're millennials and they're a voting age, or Gen Z or the voting age,
babysit for someone.
Get them out. Get them out. Throw them out of the house if they don't vote. Right.
Get them out of the house.
Well, I know you.
But how does? Okay.
I don't want you to ask another question.
I don't care.
We're out of
I'm gonna
time.
ask it. So the question is, if you don't just go and start walking around a neighborhood knocking on doors, do you? I mean,
No.
you have to get connected with
that's easy.
A local organization that gives you some information, tells you how to approach it. So, like,
presuming you're a Democrat, go to the Democratic Party headquarters in your locale. As simple as that. And there's nothing wrong with doing
It
that.
seems like they talked about that on all those Zoom calls too, because it seemed like they were getting thousands of people to sign up to do the local, kind of footwork kind of stuff. So
right after Kamala got prior to the convention, after she started the campaigning, they did the Zoom call within 2 days and had 38,000 people on it.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the get out.
They're turning away some volunteers.
Yeah, well, that's the get out the vote thing. And she's got $500 million in her coffers right now.
During Obama's campaign, there was a really interesting thing that you could see happening if you watched like an event, which was Obama would do his thing, maybe the local candidates would, et cetera. And then if Obama saw somebody that he thought was the right person. He would basically stop what he was doing, point to that person, and have one of his team basically sign them up to be like a precinct captain on the spot.
Wow.
Smart.
And the analogy to that today, the thing I thought was most powerful about the convention was their ability to understand the flow of energy from night to night.
Yep.
That's what I was most concerned about. And they beat expectations. What Oprah did in her, I mean, Oprah followed Michelle. It's like, if you think Bill's got a hard time following Michelle, I mean, this was, or
They
whoever.
didn't speak on the same night.
No.
No, but the point I'm making is that Oprah came in and said, "Oh, by the way, remember that?" and just grabbed it and pushed it back up again. And the whole night, if you graphed it, all of a sudden Thursday or Wednesday, basically a nothing night, given who the announced speakers were. All of a sudden, this had that same energy as
Well,
the
quite
peak.
honestly, that night might have had the actually most memorable moment with Gus Walls.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's what great. Oprah was great. Everybody was great, but
And
everybody was talking about Gus Walls after that happened.
I was
Everybody.
tearing up for him. I was feeling his,
Oh man,
excitement and his pride,
Everybody
his
was.
joy in his
But
father, and knowing that family must be close and loving to each
yeah.
other.
If you didn't know anything more about Tim Walls, he must be a very great dad.
Yeah.
Because it
And
was
it
both
turns
those
out that
kids.
he's, the son has some,
Neurodivergence or
yeah,
something like
Yeah.
that.
He's got like
Some
3
learning
different
But
disabilities or
it
something.
illustrates what I'm saying is it's not about Oprah and it's not about Michelle. It's about the unseen hand that was being guided, that same kind of fierceness. And I take Paul's point that, she can be a little too fierce, but I'll take it when you're up against.
Oh yeah, no.
When
as
you're a woman, you
president,
gotta
different.
show certain things. You
As
gotta show that you're
president,
tough.
that's fine.
Yeah, when you're going to be the first woman, you're going to have to show you're tough because Trump has been trying to kill that ever since he found out about her. First he's saying she's not
But
smart.
that's the best tell of all is how afraid he is of her.
Yeah, of course.
Terrified.
Yeah, he doesn't like losing, period. But losing to a woman and then losing to a woman of color on top of that. Oh my God. Yeah, he won't be able to live with himself, which would be another great reason for him to lose.
Yeah.
Okay, so raise your hand if you think Trump's going to win. Okay, excellent.
Steve, and you? You
No,
don't think?
absolutely not.
Oh, you've turned.
Wow, this
I
has been a
haven't
big
turned.
change.
No, he has.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what Steve does? He just hedges his bets because like he can't stand,
This is what Arrington says about
he
it.
can't stand that, the anxiety that so he'd rather just like, oh yeah, Trump's gonna win.
That's right.
Because then he won't be so
I want to know what Leo has to say about this. Where's Toby when you need him?
Oh yeah.
How about CJ?
Yeah.
These are all West Wing people.
I
Yeah.
think
Oh
that
my God.
I think
When you said Toby, I remembered right away.
this is a different situation. We know Trump now. He lost the last time he tried to get this job back.
Yep.
Why shouldn't he lose now? I don't think he has more support than he did then.
No. I'll go a step further. I might have mentioned this on the last one we did. There is, I think 2020, there was just as many people voting against Trump that voted for Biden as there were for people voting for Biden. This time around, there's way more pro-Kamala support than just anti-Trump support in the Democratic. You don't get as much as joy and excitement that was generating that doesn't come from just, oh, we just want to get rid of Trump. No, there is way more pro-Kamala feelings and energy and excitement coming out of that thing than there was ever pro-Biden in
Yeah,
2020.
that's where the
Yeah,
abortion rights thing is just
right.
huge.
One other thing, and don't forget the other side, which is the Democratic Party part of this. I don't think I think we're underestimating that. There are a lot of people. The Democratic Party has spent the last, I don't know, decade being fractured, pretty much. And this literally pulled the party back together completely. And people there, look, I'm not saying I'm a lifelong Democrat. I wasn't, because as I said, I was a radical, but I became a Democrat after that on the left side of it. And don't forget, think of the battles of last year were going on between the progressive Democrats, so-called progressive kids, and the moderate and centrist Democrats. Was it was verbally violent. It was horrible. And then you see AOC and Jasmine Crockett stand there, and they're all in. And AOC gave a great speech with my favorite line of the entire conference, which was when she called Trump a
Two-bit.
two-bit union buster. I love that line, right? But she gave a great.
Delivered that line
But you
with
know
a
what?
lot of energy.
I think you know what set all that up is her choosing Tim Walz
Yep.
over Josh Shapiro, because apparently all those young progressive types were like pushing for Tim Walz.
Yeah,
And
well,
that,
because
you can see why now.
Well, it wasn't. No, the reason was actually different. It was because of Palestine and Israel.
But I mean, you could see why it was
Oh no,
easier for her to make that choice.
it was the right. Look, I was a Josh Shapiro. I wanted him, but I didn't even know who Tim Walz was.
Me neither.
But once he became the guy, I couldn't.
Wow.
There's no way to see a better. Nobody could have been better than that choice. Nobody.
Okay,
Nobody.
I agree with you,
team.
but if they lose Pennsylvania,
Yeah, but they won't.
There was no promise that they'd win with him. I mean,
Right.
Pennsylvania is not a toss-up.
well, didn't Biden win last time around?
It's purple.
Look, Shapiro is he's gonna fight
Oh,
hard.
he's
Like Shapiro, so he's gonna fight hard. He's gonna be out campaigning.
Yeah.
If there's a chance, they're gonna get Pennsylvania.
Kelly,
So-
Shapiro.
To
all
me,
the-
the mark of a political analysis is to find out the thing that you really don't want to happen, and decide that there's a possibility that that will happen.
Well, that's in the planning. It always is. I mean, that's what I said earlier. They're planning if
May have been a
she
mistake.
loses. Huh?
It
Was
may
it?
have been a mistake.
I don't
Oh,
think
I don't think so.
I don't
not
either.
at all.
I
I
think
mean, he
I think
gets
Kamala has
The-
great strengths that she's only now starting to tap into. And
I agree.
the line in her speech where she talks about support for Israel and then immediately goes way beyond the Biden position on
Gaza and
war, Gaza. Thank you.
Yeah.
That got a huge response. That was the largest applause line
She
in
addressed
her
it.
speech, but she
actually
did
addressed
it.
and she did it, and
So
she did it.
you know, Walz is fine.
Walz is great.
We all think he's amazing, but it doesn't mean that there's not room for getting a little bit more of that tough.
No, she's got. Look, again, just to be clear, when she blindsided Biden, that was a blindside. It wasn't toughness. Okay, that's what I didn't like. On the other, her being tough is absolutely it's one of her biggest assets right now. She not only has to be killer at this point.
You know what the difference between her and Hillary is? They're both tough, but Kamala's likable and tough.
Well, very likable. She's and her husband's awesome. I love him. I love to see
That was a
him.
great speech too, because it didn't feel like a speech.
No,
It felt like, just, hey, what do you think?
And
Well,
plus,
Bill always, you mean Bill?
no,
I thought Bill's speech was very, very good.
I loved it. It was old Bill Clinton back a little bit, right?
It was kind of old Bill Clinton and
Kind of coming in with his statistics and
It was
everything.
his style. He was.
it was just a little too long, but other than that,
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
Well, but you know what? Prerogative as a He was, look, he personally wasn't very great guy, but he was an amazing president, right? So
Oh, yeah, you can't
that's the
argue
thing.
that.
No, best policy guy ever in my lifetime. So, and I literally, let's see, was I around when Truman got elected?
Wow.
Right. I might, well,
Wow.
40, what
Yeah,
was it,
you were.
49?
No,
Yeah,
you
I
weren't.
was.
That was 48.
That's right. I missed by a year.
Yeah.
I missed by a year. But he was president when I was born,
Right.
right? So, and Steve, you were around.
What are you, I'm like 3 minutes older than you, for Christ's sake.
You are by 1 year. So you were around when he got elected. When Dewey beat him.
Wow.
No,
With
I
that
wasn't,
paper.
I was not around.
Right.
I was
Let's
like
say,
hanging out in the crib.
Brent,
that's
not
right.
Kennedy.
And you mean the real crib at that point.
Nah.
Not the
I hate to
apartment.
say it, but Nixon was the one. No, I was still around when LBJ was still
There
in
you
his
go.
finish. Yeah. So at least I didn't have that on my. All
Yeah.
right,
Well,
but one last thing though, I think we need to think that should be considered.
Yeah.
Because I still think Trump he was on this glide path. He thought he had it made. They didn't set up any. Apparently, it doesn't sound like they set up any real infrastructure. Like what's going on with what Biden was setting up, and now what Kamala Harris kind of inherited. They don't have the boots on the ground. They don't have the local infrastructure like they probably should have had because he was thinking he didn't have to do all that. He could just use the money that's coming in for all his legal stuff. So I think that's going to show up at some point too.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. 100%.
Sure.
all right. Well, thank you, Paul, for joining the gang again.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Brent, for still being in the gang.
Thanks for still having me.
But this wasn't the gang.
That's right. It's the
all-
ungang.
It's the on gang.
The ungang.
The ungang.
Let's all have a glass of
No, it's the
cola to
gang.
celebrate it.
Trust me. And thanks, Tina.
Can I still clap for Tina when? Yeah.
You can do anything you want.
Okay.
All right. Thanks to everybody who showed up. And
Steve.
you're welcome. Thanks to the half hour before the show, no matter what, you don't want me around. I don't like me the half hour before the show.
Good to know.
Yeah. Well, Zoom has some attributes.
Steve is speaking truth today.
Here.
Truth to power.
Truth to power.
See, you can do this with Zoom.
Oh boy.
What? Oh, he takes himself out.
Thanks to everybody who showed up and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I will stop the stream.